Alright, Chapter 5 of Slaughterhouse 5, in which part we are in part 3. There are no parts to this chapter, though. It's just so long that it's taken me 3 weeks. And today I'm going to finish it. If one more person asks what book, wow, I did not anticipate how difficult sitting on this chair would be with a dress. Holy shit. Look at this. Okay, I can't even get on it because my skirt is in the way. It's like riding a horse. Now yell as you read from afar. It's not a stool because it has a back. Well, that's how I like to sit, alright? I like to read cross-legged and sitting on top of this chair. And it's very difficult. Alright, I'm seated, and I hope I don't have to move. Ever. Okay, so I don't really have the energy to summarize this book in detail. So I'm going to give a very bare bones summary and just assume that you all know what's going on. We are currently like over halfway through Slaughterhouse 5. Slaughterhouse 5 is about Billy Pilgrim. And Billy Pilgrim has become unstuck in time. And he travels back and forth through time to like different times in his life. He's usually a 45-year-old optometrist living in the town of Ilium, selling people glasses for their face. And then other times, he's a 19-year-old in World War II, being captured by the Germans and sent to a prison camp. And then other times, he is abducted by aliens and experimented on. And he was abducted by aliens on his daughter's wedding day, and they explained time travel to him because they are fourth dimensional aliens. And we all know that the fourth dimension is time. And currently in chapter 4, we are with Billy while he's been abducted by aliens, and they have put him in a zoo on the planet Tralfamador. So Billy, I believe he's like 22 or 23, and he's in a zoo exhibit on a fourth dimensional planet, and he's completely naked, and he has to explain being human from a zoo enclosure. Oops, wrong chat. Wow, Roar, how embarrassing. Where the fuck are you at right now? In a zoo on Tralfamador? Get with it. Naked and on an alien planet still seems like more a barrel of laughs than Dresden circa 1944, just saying. Yeah. But he didn't get abducted until like 1950, so. Alright. I'll start a little bit, I'll start a little bit back from where we left off, so I can just get a refresher. Literally, he's in a zoo. He's in a zoo for a zoo for aliens, you know what I mean? He's in a zoo. Now the first question came from the speaker on the television set. Are you happy here? About as happy as I was on Earth, said Billy Pilgrim, which was true. Ooh, or maybe I should describe the zoo enclosure. Billy was displayed there in a zoo, in a simulated Earthling habitat. Most of the furnishings had been stolen from a Sears and Roebuck warehouse in Iowa City, Iowa. There was a color television set and a couch that could be converted into a bed. There was a home bar and 2 stools. There was a little pool table. There was wall-to-wall carpeting in federal gold, except in the kitchen and bathroom areas, and over the iron manhole cover in the center. There were magazines arranged in a fan on the coffee table in front of the couch. There was a stereophonic sonograph. The phonograph worked. The television didn't. There was a picture of one cowboy killing another, pasted onto the television tube. So it goes. There were no walls in the dome. No place for Billy to hide. The mint green bathroom fixtures were right out in the open. Billy got off his lounge chair now, went into the bathroom, and took a leak. The crowd went wild. Billy brushed his teeth on Tralfamadore, put in his partial denture, and went to the kitchen. His bottled gas range and his refrigerator and dishwasher were mint green too. There was a picture painted on the door of the refrigerator. The refrigerator had come that way. It was a picture of a gay 90s couple on a bicycle built for 2. He showered after his exercises and trimmed his toenails. He shaved and sprayed deodorant under his arms, while a zoo guide, on a raised platform outside, explained what Billy was doing and why. The guide was lecturing telepathically, simply standing there, sending out thought waves to the crowd. On the platform with him was a little keyboard instrument with which he would relay questions to Billy from the crowd. Now the first question came from the speaker on the television set. Are you happy here? About as happy as I was on Earth, said Billy Pilgrim, which was true. There were 5 sexes on Tralfamadore, each of them performing a step necessary in the creation of a new individual. They looked identical to Billy, because their sex differences were all in the 4th dimension. One of the biggest moral bombshells handed to Billy by the Tralfamadorians, incidentally, had to do with sex on Earth. Oh my God, On Fire. 4th dimensional smells would be cool. The smell of something from its beginning to its end. Yeah, or horrifying. I love the idea, though. Thank you for that. Yeah, all possible smells, like, over a lifetime. Interesting. I love it. Imagine smelling a ripe apple and its rotten carcass at the same time, lol. One of the biggest moral bombshells handed to Billy by the Tralfamadorians, incidentally, had to do with sex on Earth. They said that their flying saucer crews had identified no fewer than 7 sexes on Earth, each essential to reproduction. Again, Billy couldn't possibly imagine what 5 of those 7 sexes had to do with the making of a baby, since they were sexually active only in the 4th dimension. The Tralfamadorians tried to give Billy clues that would help him imagine sex in the invisible dimension. They told him that there could be no earthling babies without male homosexuals. There could be babies without female homosexuals. There couldn't be babies without women over 65. And there could be babies with men over 65. Oh, sorry. I read that all wrong. I don't want to confuse you. They told him that there could be no earthling babies without male homosexuals. There could be babies without female homosexuals. There couldn't be babies without women over 65 years old. And there could be babies without men over 65 years old. There couldn't be babies without other babies who had lived an hour or less after birth, and so on. It was gibberish to Billy. There was a lot that Billy said that was gibberish to the Tralfamadorians, too. They couldn't imagine what time looked like to him. Billy had given up on explaining that. The guide outside had to explain as best he could. The guide invited the crowd to imagine that they were looking across a desert at a mountain range on a day that was twinkling bright and clear. They could look at a peak or a bird or a cloud or at a stone right in front of them, or even look down into the canyon behind them. But among them was this poor earthling, and his head was encased in a steel sphere which he could never take off. And there was only one eye hole through which he could look. And welded to that eye hole was 6 feet of pipe. And this was only the beginning of Billy's miseries, in the metaphor. He was also strapped to a steel lattice, which was bolted to a flat car on rails. The far end of the pipe rested on a bipod, which was also bolted to the flat car. All Billy could see was the little dot at the end of the pipe. He didn't know he was on a flat car. Didn't even know that there was anything peculiar about his situation. This flat car sometimes crept, sometimes went extremely fast, often stopped, went uphill, downhill, around curves, along straightaways, whatever poor Billy saw through the pipe. He had no choice but to say to himself, "This is life." That's life. But can you turn the pipe into a bong? Can you smoke out of the pipe? That's the question. Billy expected the Tralfamadorians to be baffled and alarmed by all the wars and other forms of murder on Earth. He expected them to fear that the Earthling combination of ferocity and spectacular weaponry might eventually destroy part or maybe all of the innocent universe. Science fiction had led him to expect that. But the subject of war never came up until Billy brought it up himself. Somebody in the zoo crowd asked him through the lecturer what the most valuable thing he had learned on Tralfamador so far was. Excuse me, I had to burp. Somebody in the zoo crowd asked him through the lecturer what the most valuable thing he had learned on Tralfamador was so far. And Billy replied, "How the inhabitants of a whole planet can live in peace. As you know, I am from a planet that has been engaged in senseless slaughter since the beginning of time. I myself have seen the bodies of schoolgirls who were boiled alive in a water tower by my own countrymen, who were proud of fighting pure evil at the time." This was true. Billy saw the boiled bodies in Dresden. "And I have lit my way in a prison at night with candles from the fat of human beings who were butchered by the brothers and fathers of those schoolgirls who were boiled. Earthlings must be the terror of the universe. If other planets aren't now in danger from Earth, they soon will be. So tell me the secret so I can take it back to Earth and save us all. How can a planet live at peace?" Billy felt that he had spoken soaringly. He was baffled when he saw the Tralfamadorians close their little hands on their eyes. Okay, so Tralfamadorians, if you don't know, they're shaped like a toilet plunger with a hand on the top. So imagine my arm is a toilet plunger with like a suction cup on the bottom, and then they have a hand on top, and there's an eye in the middle of the hand. So they're like this, with an eye. So if they do this, he was baffled when he saw that the Tralfamadorians close their little hands on their eyes. He knew from past experience what this meant. He was being stupid. It's literally a facepalm to the Tralfamadorians. I imagine they go like this. It's like a facepalm. He was being stupid. Would you mind telling me? He said to the guide, much deflated. What was so stupid about that? We know how the universe ends, said the guide. And Earth has nothing to do with it. Except that it gets wiped out too. How does the universe end? Said Billy. We blow it up, experimenting with new fuels for our flying saucers. A Tralfamadorian test pilot presses a starter button, and the whole universe disappears. So it goes. If you know this, said Billy, isn't there some way you can prevent it? Can't you stop the pilot from pressing the button? He has always pressed it, and he always will. We always let him, and we always will let him. The moment is structured that way. It's structured that way. So, said Billy gropingly, I suppose that the idea of preventing war on Earth is stupid too? Of course. But you do have a peaceful planet here. Today we do. On other days, we have wars as horrible as any you've seen or read about. There isn't anything we can do about them, so we simply don't look at them. We ignore them. We spend eternity looking at pleasant moments. Like today at the zoo. Isn't this a nice moment? Yes. That's one thing that Earthlings might learn to do, if they tried hard enough. Ignore the awful times, and concentrate on the good ones. Said Billy Pilgrim. Plungers fighting each other, lol. Yeah, can we just take a moment and appreciate how stupid Tralfamadorians must look when they're at war? Are they in front of each other like, you know? Stop that! Okay, now that we've imagined... I'm talking about third dimensional, alright? They look stupid in the third dimension. I don't care how horrifying it is in the fourth dimension. It looks fucking hilarious in the third. Shortly after he went to bed that night... sleep. Shortly after he went to sleep that night, Billy traveled in time to another moment which was quite nice. His wedding night with the former Valencia Merble. His wedding night with the former Valencia Merble. He had been out of the Veterans Hospital for 6 months. He was all well. He had graduated from the Ilium School of Optometry, third in his class of 47. Now he was in bed with Valencia, in a delightful studio apartment, which was built on the end of a wharf on Cape Ann, Massachusetts. Across the water were the lights of Gloucester. Billy was on top of Valencia, making love to her. One result of this act would be the birth of Robert Pilgrim, who would become a problem in high school, but who would then straighten out as a member of the famous Green Berets. Valencia wasn't a time traveler, but she did have a lively imagination. While Billy was making love to her, she imagined that she was a famous woman in history. She was being Queen Elizabeth, the First of England, and Billy was supposedly Christopher Columbus. Kinky. Gloucester. That doesn't sound right. I'm not gonna call it that. Okay. That's not correct. Oh, true, Worcester. But that's also Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Or Worcestershire. So I'm gonna call it Gloucestershire. Don't say Gloucester in my presence ever again. Thank you. Anyways, back to Queen Elizabeth I of England and Billy Christopher Columbus. Billy made a noise like a small rusty hinge. He had just emptied his seminal vesicles into Valencia. Had contributed his share of the Green Beret. According to the Tralfamadorians, of course, the Green Beret would have 7 parents in all. Now, he rolled off of his huge wife, whose rapt expression did not change when he departed. He lay with the buttons of his spine along the edge of the mattress, folded his hands behind his head. He was rich now. He had been rewarded for marrying a girl nobody in his right mind would have married. His father-in-law had given him a new Buick Roadmaster. His father-in-law had given him a new Buick Roadmaster, an all-electric home, and had made him manager of his most prosperous office, his Ilium office, where Billy could expect to make at least $30,000 a year. That was good. His father had only been a barber. As his mother said, the pilgrims are coming up in the world. Can someone look up what 30,000 was in, like, I don't even know what year it is. I never know what year it is in this book, except for World War II. He got abducted when he was, like, 23, and I thought he was 45. So, 30K in, like, Okay, so it was 3 years after he got back from the war that he was abducted by aliens, and then it was like 6 months after he got out of the hospital that he was in, after he got abducted, or before he got abducted. I don't know when his daughter gets married. On the night of Barbara's wedding, whenever that is. I think it's like it's like 1952. What was 30K in 1952? That'll be a good roundabout. 1967, 380K? Dude, I knew he was bragging, but I didn't know how. Whoa. Alright, bro. $335,997 a year salary. Or whatever. What did he... Yeah, $300,000 a year. That was good. His father had only been a barber. I can only assume that barbers made like $5 a year. That was good. His father had only been a barber. Is that like a lot? Are you kidding me? I'm not gay, but 300K is 300K. He made that without a degree, fresh out of high school, no internship, as was the style at the time. As his mother said, the pilgrims are coming up in the world. The honeymoon was taking place in the bittersweet mysteries of Indian summer in New England. The lovers' apartment had one romantic wall, which was all French doors. They opened onto a balcony and the oily harbor beyond. A green and orange dragger, black in the night, grumbled and drummed past their balcony, not 30 feet from their wedding bed. It was going to sea, with only its running lights on. Its empty holds were resonant. Its empty holds were resonant. Made the song of the engines rich and loud. The wharf began to sing the same song. And then the honeymooners' headboard sang too. And it continued to sing long after the dragger was gone. "Thank you," said Valencia at last. The headboard was singing a mosquito song. "You're welcome. It was nice. I'm glad." Sorry, why is everyone saying ow? Am I screaming? Am I yelling? Or are you, like, what are you saying? Oh no. Am I still here? Is my stream, is it an F? Okay, nobody's hurt. We can continue. So, they just moaned. "Thank you," said Valencia at last. "You're welcome. It was nice. I'm glad." Then she began to cry. "What's the matter?" "I'm so happy." "Good. I never thought anybody would marry me." Said Billy Pilgrim. "I'm going to lose weight for you," she said. "What?" "I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to become beautiful for you. I like you just the way you are." "Do you really?" "Really," said Billy Pilgrim. He had already seen a lot of their marriage, thanks to time travel. He knew that it was going to be at least bearable, all the way. A great motor yacht, the Scheherazade, Scheherazade. A great motor yacht named the Scheherazade now slid past the marriage bed. The song its engines sang was a very low organ note. All her lights were on. Thank you, Max. All her lights were on. Two beautiful people, a young man and a young woman in evening clothes, were at the rail of the stern. Rail in the stern. loving each other, and their dreams, and the wake. They were honeymooning, too. They were Lance Rumford of Newport, Rhode Island, and his bride, the former Cynthia Landry, who had been a childhood sweetheart of John F. Kennedy in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. There was a slight coincidence here. Billy Pilgrim would later share a hospital room with Rumford's uncle, Professor Bertrand Copeland Rumford of Harvard, official historian of the United States Air Force. Damn it, I did so well. Have you ever read a tongue twister and then just fucked it up on the last goddamn word? Holy shit. I said airport instead of Air Force. You know how hard that was to read? Fuck. Billy Pilgrim would later share a hospital room with Rumford's uncle, Professor Bertram Copeland Rumford of Harvard, official historian of the United States Air Force. When the beautiful people were passed, Valencia questioned her funny-looking husband about war. It was a simple-minded thing for a female earthling to do. To associate sex and glamour with war. "Do you ever think about the war?" she said, laying a hand on his thigh. "Sometimes," said Billy. "I look at you sometimes," said Valencia, "and I get a funny feeling that you're full of secrets." "I'm not," said Billy. This was a lie, of course. He hadn't told anybody at all about the time traveling he'd done, about Tralfamadore, and so on. "You must have secrets about the war. Or not secrets, I guess, but things you don't want to talk about." "No." "I'm proud you were a soldier. Do you know that?" "Good." "Was it awful?" "Sometimes." A crazy thought now occurred to Billy. The truth of it startled him. It would make a good epitaph for Billy Pilgrim. And for me, too. "Would you talk about the war now if I wanted you to?" said Valencia. In a tiny cavity in her great body, she was assembling the materials for a green beret. "It would sound like a dream," said Billy. "Other people's dreams aren't very interesting usually." "I heard you tell Father one time about a German firing squad." She was referring to the execution of poor old Edgar Derby. You had to bury him?" "Yes." "Did he see you with your shovels before he was shot?" "Yes." "Did he say anything?" "No." "Was he scared?" "They had him doped up. He was sort of glassy-eyed." "And they pinned a target to him?" "A piece of paper," said Billy. He got out of bed. "Excuse me." went into the darkness of the bathroom to take a leak. He groped for the light, realized as he felt the rough walls that he had traveled back to 1944, to the prison hospital again. Oh yeah, he was institutionalized in the the prisoner camp. He was sent to a hospital in the prison camp for laughing too hard at a play about Cinderella that was put on by the prison mates.